In this lesson, we're going to be talking about different types of hacking. The first type of hacking that I want to discuss is ethical hacking, which is really what we're going to be talking about through the rest of these lessons. Now, an ethical hacker is somebody who thinks like a black hat hacker or thinks like somebody who's intent on breaking into your system, but follows a moral compass that's more in line with probably the majority of the population. So their intent isn't to do bad things. Their intent is to look for bad things and get them fixed so that bad things don't happen. Ethical hackers aren't out to destroy anything, and they're not out to break anything unless it's deemed to be acceptable as part of the engagement and also necessary in order to demonstrate a particular vulnerability to the organization that they are working with. So that's an ethical hacker. And there is a certification that's available from the EC Council. It's a certified ethical hacker. And, if you find certifications valuable and this sort of thing is what you want to do, pursuing a certified ethical hacker may be something that you want to look into. Now let's talk about black hat hackers. There's certainly plenty of cases of black hat hackers through the years. This guy right here is a particularly good example, probably because he was a black hat for a lot of years. His goal was to cause mischief and to steal where necessary and to just be engaged in the lifestyle of being a hacker and doing whatever was necessary to continue doing that, whether it crossed moral or ethical boundaries or not. So Kevin Mitnick here was involved for well over a decade in computer crime and was finally picked up by the FBI, and he was charged and prosecuted, and he was eventually convicted of some of the activities that he was involved with. Now, you may be able to argue that Kevin is a gray hat hacker as well. And a gray hat hacker is somebody who kind of skirts the line between black and white hat hacking. And white hat hacking is really what an ethical hacker is. So instead of saying ethical hacker, you could say white hat hacker. It's the same idea. A white hat hacker is somebody who hacks for good, if you want to think of it like that, if you want to think about it as good versus evil. And what they really are doing is they're in it for the technical challenge. They're looking to make things better, make things more efficient, improve them in some way. A black hat hacker is out for the money, for the thrill. It's really a criminal activity. A gray hat hacker is somebody who may employ the tactics and techniques of a black hat hacker, but have sort of a white hat focus. In other words, they're going to do things that may be malicious and destructive in nature, but the reason they are doing it is to improve the security posture of an organization that they are working with. So you can see there's actually a book called Gray Hat Hacking. It's a pretty good book, and it details a lot of the tactics and strategies and techniques that we'll be going over in subsequent lessons. Now, one other type of hacking that I want to talk about is this thing called hacktivism. And you'll find hacktivism all over the place. And one example in the last year or so, and certainly in recent memory, is Lulz Security. And you could argue that Lulz is actually a response to another type of hacktivism. An organization called Anonymous started hacking companies like Sony to protest their involvement in a lawsuit regarding a PS3 hacker. Lulz Security was supposedly protesting the treatment of Anonymous, or was hacking in support of this group Anonymous. So they hacked a number of companies and did things like pulled information, usernames, and passwords from databases at these companies. And they said the reason was to shine a light on the security of these companies and also theoretically to embarrass the companies with their weak or poor security postures. The problem with what they were doing, though, was they were posting information that they found online, and that information often included details about the customers for these particular corporations. And for an ethical hacker or a white hat hacker, that would cross the boundary of causing harm. So there's no reason for me as an ethical hacker to post information in a public forum about somebody because I could be doing damage to them. In this case, Lulz Security and Anonymous, but specifically Lulz Security, were engaged in a form of hacktivism, and what they were doing was not only damaging to the corporations, that certainly was detrimental to those people. So different types of hackers, different types of hacking. We've got ethical or white hat hacking, we've got black hat, gray hat, and then finally we've got hacktivism. It's really the goals and the means that vary from one to the next.